So I actually have a question for you.
Yeah.
We briefly talked on like you giving me anxiety and like I hate how you pace around the office. What's something that you hate that I do?
I would say it's similar to what you said in the beginning, which is we just see things differently. So it's a good thing and it's also an annoying thing, right? Like it's good that I'm the way I am so that I'm not, you know, just thinking about the books, that I'm out figuring out how to sell and create relationships and do those things, and vice versa. So you play in black and white. So again, just like numbers and bookkeeping and accounting, it's like, you know, there's positive and negative, and I play everywhere in between those things. Where you play on the positive and negative, right? Or let's say like the black and white. So you live in these two areas, and I live in the in between area. It doesn't mean I can't see the black and the white, but my mindset is in the gray because that's where all the possibilities, as you said earlier, or opportunities, or, you know, just again, like life is not linear. I feel like a lot of people, I guess, question what it's like to work with their spouse. Uh, just the day-to-day part of it, the balance between work and home and family, and so what's your perspective on us working together? Because I don't know if everybody knows that we work together, but we do. What do you feel it's like for us working together and living together and having a family together and all that fun stuff?
It's definitely a lot. I wouldn't say it's for everybody,
Yeah.
obviously, because of the not the hate, but just the questions that we get asked all the time, and yeah,
What do we get asked?
how we work together. How is it possible that you guys can go home after work? And it's not to say that it's easy by any means,
What do
because
you?
it's not. We disagree all the time.
Oh, sure. That's what balances it out. What do you tell people though?
That I work for you.
No, I mean, like, what do you tell
Oh.
people about working together?
That we balance each other out.
Yeah.
I'd say definitely, like any of the disagreements we have, I'm more based on the financial side of things. I look at things
It's true.
from stats and from what numbers are being pulled, and whereas you kind of look at things from like, hey, let's just do it. Let's just try it. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Like,
Yeah.
we'll just change it up.
Sales and creativity is my jam. And yours is numbers and
Yeah, so that's why I think we balance each other out in that aspect, at least.
yeah, that's true.
We definitely don't agree on everything.
No, not at all. Not at all. That's what makes it good, though.
Yeah, but a lot of people can't work in that kind of an atmosphere with their spouse.
I mean, it's not to say that we shut it off, per se, all the time, or enough at home, but I think maybe that's why people generally have like an issue, or not an issue, but just like they struggle maybe potentially working alongside their partner is the difference between like home life and work life. And even though like we're carrying it through, you know, as entrepreneurs, we're still like on and engaged in the business all the time. I feel like people don't have a boundary, I guess, for having like a family conversation and a work conversation, maybe.
Yeah, but we also don't do the best at that either. Because sometimes the only time we can catch up after the workday is at home.
No, I realize that. I mean, like more from a more from just having like the not the types of conversations, but more so like the emotionality behind those conversations. Like we can tentatively separate, or at least I can separate the work conversation versus the personal conversation easily.
I feel like in the beginning I couldn't, but yeah, I feel like we're getting better at it.
Like my point is I can have a disagreement with you on some work side of things, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm having that disagreement personally with you,
Yeah.
or
No, I
that
would
it's
agree with that.
family related or our off time related. It's just like, hey, this is some stuff that, you know, we don't see eye to eye on, but it doesn't mean like we can't now go have a family supper together and we're fighting.
No, I would agree with that. I would agree with that. You've always been a little bit better at that than I have been.
I think it was one of the first conversations we had, right? Is being able to say like more or less at 5 o'clock we shut it off, even though we don't shut it off. But yeah, it's more or less like just
Sometimes
like,
it's hard.
yeah, it's just the brain side of it, just being like, this is a work related conversation, not a home related conversation. I don't know. I think it adds a dynamic. I don't like the word necessarily like power couple, but it's part of it.
I wouldn't have thought of it that way.
Yeah, because you're just like, it's a powerful dynamic. Like it's two people vested in the same thing all the time. And that can be hard, but at the same time, like you're both focused towards the same goals, which is not always the case when you're like working in separate, maybe not businesses, but just separate work.
Workplaces.
Yeah, workplaces. Where it's like, oh, this is what happened to me at work today. This is what happened to me at work today. And it's like, cool, but you don't kind of like always truthfully understand what you're each doing. Where I think like we get to live and breathe what we do, and we have a pretty solid understanding of exactly what each one of us does and how it contributes and what we need to do to move forward or to get past a hump or whatever the case might be. I don't know if you agree with that, but
No, I would agree with that. For sure. We're just one of those lucky couples, I guess, that doesn't get along, but for the most part understands each other's vision about the business. And
yeah, I mean, I think a big challenge is also working together. We have kids together. So we're balancing work balance, personal, family. I mean, I would say you have a little bit more exposure to like the day-to-day of the kids. Like, how do you make that all work?
That's a great question. You just do it. You don't really have an option, right? It's like if the kids have a doctor's appointment, I thankfully am in a position where you allow me
Wow.
to be where I need to be with the kids, whether it be doctor's appointments or school appointments or.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I allow you. I mean,
I just do it. But
you do your job well, so I
Yeah.
don't have to allow you to do it. You
No.
get shit done.
Yeah. And like working with you alongside you in the business gives me the opportunity to be able to, pull those 7 p.m., 11 p.m. I need to get some work done, but I also need to be at a doctor's appointment for one of our children tomorrow morning. So it's a good work-life balance for me.
Yeah.
Or for us, because you also do it sometimes if I can't be there for one of the kids.
Yeah.
So yeah, in that aspect, it works out really well.
That's true. And we both have a little bit of quote unquote flexibility.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, that's huge.
Not that it's really flexibility because you're always working, but yeah, I get what you're saying though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So sometimes it is hard to turn it off after 5 o'clock if, you've been busy with the kids during the day or.
Yep.
And you're.
But you're here a lot. Plus you're working from home a lot. That's a totally different dynamic, no?
Yes. Working from home is tough in and of itself.
Especially as we come into the summer.
Yeah. It's really hard sometimes to get some of that work done just because you do have littles running around, and every time it seems like you get on the phone, they're always wanting to interrupt. And so thankfully, though, we do have clients that are understanding of that, and they always kind of joke about it when you talk to them on the phone. So lucky in that aspect, but
That's true.
it is tough. It's definitely nice when you have the daycare or the school,
Yeah.
but you just do it. It's like any other parents out there,
Yeah.
right? If they're working 8 to 5, you just do it.
Yeah.
You don't have any other options.
Yeah, that's true.
So
That's true.
I'm just lucky enough to be able to work alongside you and have that flexibility to be everywhere I need to be most of the time.
You're a busy gal, that's for sure. What do you find is the hardest thing of working together?
I would definitely say that we don't see eye to eye all the time.
Yeah.
Actually, like 100% of the time. Because, yeah,
That's the hardest?
that's the hardest.
Is not seeing eye to eye is the hardest? Okay.
I just wish that you would see things the same way that I see things,
Yeah.
even just once.
I do.
Just to be like, I agree with you, like we should do it that way. Versus always having to have a disagreement about something and then,
I don't know if I disagree with you so much as I challenge your thinking.
no, I think it's a disagree.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh, that's interesting. I find that it's more about challenging and making sure that you're looking at it from like multiple perspectives so that that's the way at least my brain works.
I mean, I can understand you coming from that point of view,
Yeah.
but I truly don't think you see things the way that I see things.
No, that's true. Like I say,
Like I'm very analytical. I see things from, yeah, exactly, a numbers point of view, from stats, from
yeah.
you're not looking for like you're not looking at the repercussions of certain, I feel like, ideas or
Actually, not even. I actually overanalyze it. So I'm looking at it from 10 different angles. What's going to work? What's not going to work? What's it going to cost? How can it fail? But the difference between the way that you and I maybe think is that I'm okay with failure.
and see, I don't think I am.
See, I'm okay with failure because I know that if it fails, I'm just going to pivot and I'm going to do the next thing or whatever. Like that business isn't like this very straight path that you somehow just get to be like, I'm going to do this, and then if I do this, that leads to point A, or from point A that leads to point B. It's like, no, like point A to point B actually ends up being like A to C to D to E to, and then somewhere in there it can fail, and then you're back to point A again. And then you have to try and figure out how to get to point B.
That's exactly my issue with it, is that you don't give it time to evolve and take the right steps to actually get to like point E. You're jumping all over the place and making so many fast changes that annoys me.
And that's fair. I just say it's part of like the evolution of it, at least the way that I operate anyway. It's like my evolution is like move fast, test it quick, make a determination of whether it's going to work or not, and if not, move on. Because that negative, or not even negative, but like that journey, if you spend too much time on it without it providing results right away, it's like, so I look at it like social media and making a post. If you make a post and you get no engagement, it's a shit idea. It's not going to work. The social proof is in the pudding.
But it's one post.
I realize that, but my point is like, I'm just making it as an example of it. So if I go out and I make, I'll say posts, but if I go out and I make a few posts or drop a few seedlings into something, and the feedback is automatically like, I'm like, moving on. This isn't the right idea. So it's more like creating an idea, building out like the framework around it. I spend time doing that to make sure that I get it right. And then I launch it into like testing a couple of posts, right? But in person, when it's through sales or whatever. And whatever the feedback is, you got to adjust. And you either adjust or you bail. Either it's a really bad idea or you just need to tweak it a little bit because you got some feedback that people are like, oh, like, well, if you did it this way. And so I feel like you're just constantly changing to figure out like what the market response is.
But you're not giving it enough time to actually take off, I feel like. You're tweaking things too early for people to actually take the time to engage with it.
And that could be possible for sure. I could see that point of view. I could definitely see that point of view. Like I say, I really do simplify it, I guess, in looking into it. Like I say, like social media content. It's like you're either going to have that great little viral piece that's going to help you catapult and move your business into the right direction, or you're just going to keep making crap content that eventually is going to sink you financially. And you are not going to pivot quick enough to be able to recover. So you have to move fast in order to find like the mechanisms that work. And like I say, at least in our business, like it evolves so fast, it changes so quickly. Technology moves at breakneck speed that like you have no choice but to like just keep trying and keep testing and keep figuring and keep adapting and changing. Like I say, it's not like, to me, like it's not like accounting where it's like, this is your year end and this is how you input an invoice and this is how you like balance at the end of the month, and like that's kind of like relatable, right? Like they're equally important jobs, roles, but one is very like it has very specific steps that are manageable, and although the data can tell you things, the process of coming to those reports is the same in almost every single company.
And that's exactly why we balance each other out, because
Yes.
that is my job.
Yeah, but that's why I say that's why we're different in that aspect. So it's not so much about like that I don't give it enough time, so much as like the way that I'm interpreting what you're saying is like you work good in that space because it's predictable. I work good in my space because it's unpredictable and I thrive in that. And so we balance each other out because you're good at that. You have the patience for those numbers. You have the patience, to deal with like the intricacies and the like dotting every I and crossing every T. Where in the sales side, it's like I gotta go, like I gotta fly, and today I might fall flat on my face, and tomorrow I might close 5 deals, and both days provide valuable feedback. One day it's like, holy cow, I got to tweak this, and the next day you're getting validation and you're learning from that. So it's just like constant, it's nonstop, is what I would say is like the difference in how we look at things. So that's why I say to me it's not so much about disagreeing with each other so much as it's a different it's like a different environment that we spend our time and energy in. And both are equally important, but both have a totally different way of tackling it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree with that. However, I'm here to let everybody know that you give me anxiety, and we still somehow manage to work together on a day-to-day basis.
You do hate my pacing, that's for sure.
Yes, yes. Yes.
I give you anxiety. Oh boy.
Yes. Anxiety about your choices. Anxiety about moving so fast-paced in this environment when I'm just like, we need to take certain steps to reach that goal, or...
Yeah. That's true. And I mean, part of that is like, I don't know. I feel like I definitely have undiagnosed ADHD of some kind, and I have to stay very
busy.
I like
at all times.
Yeah, I like staying really busy, but I also like I have to have like that to-do list. I have to have those things. Otherwise, if I break my structure, my mind goes off in.
Let's talk
different
about to-do
directions.
lists. To-do lists in the office or to-do lists at home?
In the office.
Oh.
Yeah.
What happened to the to-do lists at home?
Well,
those always fall to the wayside.
Yeah, they do actually. Well, when you're talking to so many people, it's different. It's like relating it to I'll say like a construction worker. Like a construction worker they come home tired from their bodies, and I come home tired mentally, because you're dealing with just constantly talking to people. So yeah, sometimes you just want to go home and shut it off. You don't want to have any more, I guess, not interactions, but kind of like interactions. You kind of just want to like put yourself into your own headspace and find a way to kind of like get your brain out of like that constant like zoomies mode, where it's just like bing, 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 bing. I got to think about this and do
So
that.
this is why you're so quiet at home,
Yeah.
is what you're saying. You're
Yeah.
just tired of talking to everybody, so you
Yeah.
don't want to talk to any of our children.
Oh, I spend lots of time with the kids, but no, yeah, that's why, yeah, like I do enjoy some peace early on when I get home from work, and it's like I need it, like that cup of coffee, or that like 20 to 30 minutes of like just downtime to recalibrate and be able to like be there more as a dad and husband. But again, not to say that works every day either. It's you're constantly working towards trying to be a decent human being, both from work and home. So I think that plays a huge part of it. Is, like you said, you just do it, but doesn't mean that you're always great at it. Doesn't mean you don't fail at work, and sometimes you fail at home. And that's what like having a good partner, I feel, does, is whether it's at least us working together like at home or at work, is that, yeah, like we're kind of like a bit of a yin and yang to each other, and that's kind of what balances out the lifestyle. It's like, yeah, some days you're not firing on all cylinders, and I gotta pick up that energy, and then other times I'm not firing on all cylinders, at least on the home side, and you're picking up that work and energy. So yeah, I think it goes
I love that
both
you
ways.
say that. It's like I'm not firing on all cylinders today. I feel like I haven't been firing on all cylinders for like ever.
Well, again, you just do what you can. I think I don't know, that's probably another big difference between you and I, is like you're very structured, and like here are all the things that we need to accomplish, whether it be at work or at home. Kind of like I was saying about a to-do list. And I'm more the mentality, it's like, hey, like if it's not life or death, like no one died if that didn't get done. You do the best you can. You move that item to tomorrow's to-do list, and even tomorrow you might have 10 other things that take priority over that, and you're doing those things, and then all of a sudden you get to that item and it's like, oh man, like I can't tackle this now today, or whatever the case might be, and it goes on
So
another
true.
day. And so, yeah, you're doing your best as an entrepreneur and someone that's like in family life. Like you're doing the best you can to prioritize. But yeah, sometimes even mentally, like I know for myself, like yeah, there's definitely not even days, sometimes weeks where it's like, you can get into a slump, and you can get, just not as engaged as you could be, and you kind of zone out a little bit, and you're kind of trying to find how you recover from your own little mental slumps that you go through from time to time. That's just part of life. Or at least that's what I did use it to. But I think we all go through it. I mean, it's just like marriage. No marriage is flowers and rainbows every single day.
No, that's true.
Like, that's a fallacy. So, yeah, you're going to have, like, whether they're disagreements or different things you want to do, or different visions that you're both trying to, like, attain. You're trying to figure out like how one vision and another vision can kind of like come together, and sometimes they don't. Just like in business, it's like a good idea can be a bad idea, and something you're wanting to do at home could seem like a good thing, but it's not really a good thing, or vice versa. It seems like not a good thing, but it is a good thing. So yeah, it's just constant. Like you're always just maneuvering through, and trying to figure out how to make someone, how to make each other's day a little bit easier, a little bit more productive, a little bit better, and that's not always a home run every day either.
So no domestic here for anybody to see today. No domestic.
I don't think we find. I mean, heck, we've been together for what, 8 years now, and yeah, I mean, we've definitely had our disagreements, but I don't think.
I say more so disagreements about work.
Yeah.
And ideas and things like that versus like anything on the home front. But I mean, that's always going to happen.
No.
In any marriage.
And we're just, I hate saying it, but we're just busy. Like, you know, before kids even being an entrepreneur, it's like, you know, I went to all the beer functions, I went to all the golf tournaments, I went to whatever the events were around, and you know, now with little ones, you're rushing home to help with supper or bedtimes and baths and going for a walk and taking the dog for a walk and or some kid activity, right? And you know, you're trying to balance that out and your marriage out and the work out, and even yourself, like as a person, you start taking a back seat for even taking care of yourself as a person, because you're so focused on making sure.
That's the first time I think I've ever heard you say that.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. Finally, you realize that.
Well, yeah, it's true, but like you said, you just do it. You can sit there and complain about it, but yeah, like it's like employees. That's, to me, it's, even though they're different, like employees and our kids are the same. They both require a certain degree of attention. They both require a degree of helping them learn and overcome obstacles. They require failure, you know, so that they can fall down and get back up, and they don't have a repercussion immediately, like, you're not my child anymore, or you're fired, right? So like, to me, entrepreneurship and family life are like very intertwined in how to approach it. I would say that the biggest difference, though, is like the sentimentalness behind some of the actions at home.
What do you mean by that?
Well, again, like here you can be more blunt, and it's like, this is how, you know, this is the way I want it done, or this is how we're going to move forward with this. And at home, you're obviously playing a little bit more to like someone's feelings too, and you know, like having a daughter, and she might want to do something, and you don't have the energy to do something, and you know, she has a meltdown. So, well, maybe a meltdown's the wrong word, but you know, like she gets sad about it and wants to do it, and so you cave, and you're like, yeah, let's go do that. And even though the activity might have been fun, it's like you're still drained.
But again, you just do it.
Yes. Where at work, you can still kind of, I'm not saying like not have feelings, but just you're able to be a little bit more structured and less about, you know, a child's feelings. You know, everybody that's in the work environment generally has a developed adult brain that can somewhat, you know, mitigate those conversations a little bit better, that feedback better, or criticism better, where I can go home and say something to Maria and she might cry about it, even though I'm not mad at her. I'm just telling her to, you know, put a toy back in her room. To her, that's a big deal, right? That's different in a work environment where you can say, hey, can you put that back here? And they're not going to cry. They're going to just be like, okay, yeah, like that's where you want it. So I would say that's the difference in balance is one has a lot more emotional attachments to it, and one can be a little bit more structured and a little tiny bit less sentimental. But again, you're still dealing with people, so I mean, there's still feelings involved at work, just not child-style feelings, at least for the most part.
So I actually have a question for you.
Yeah.
We briefly talked on like you giving me anxiety and like I hate how you pace around the office. What's something that you hate that I do? Or that like drives you crazy that you've never told me?
Oh, I don't know if I've never told you. I mean,
Like in the office, we don't need to go.
no, I know, but I don't. I mean, I don't know if it's anything that I've not told you.
Okay, well, what is
But
it?
again, I would say it's similar to what you said in the beginning, which is we just see things differently. So it's a good thing, and it's also an annoying thing, right? Like, it's good that I'm the way I am, so that I'm not, just thinking about the books, that I'm out figuring out how to sell and create relationships and do those things, and vice versa. I would say like the difference is that exactly too. So it's not so much like an annoyance as it is just a different.
Like it drives you crazy that I'm not as creative as you and I can't see things the way that you see things?
I wouldn't say like creative, but again, like you're
or that I'm like closed-minded.
Not closed-minded. That you're a little bit more so you play in black and white. So again, just like numbers and bookkeeping and accounting, it's like, there's positive and negative. And I play everywhere in between those things. Where you play on the positive and negative, right? Or let's say like the black and white. So you live in these two areas and I live in the in-between area. It doesn't mean I can't see the black and the white, but my mindset is in the gray because that's where all the possibilities, as you said earlier, or opportunities, or, just again, like life is not linear. It's not a straight line. Like, it's not like, hey, I was born and at age 1 this happens and at age 2 that happens. When you turn 18 this happens and then you get married.
But that's actually what it's like. That's how it goes.
And so it's not that. It's like it's messy. It's like, you drop your food on the freaking ground. You stub your toe. You have an accident.
But that's black and
white. You
white.
get fired from a job. Like it's not black and white because if it was black and white to me is like, here's my 10-year plan and nothing can go wrong.
I see what you're saying.
By the time I'm 30, I'm going to be doing this. And it's like, great. And you can still have that as a goal. I'm not saying don't have the goal. But the way you're going to get there, if you think it's just like, do this and just stay this and just do that, and like you're just staying very straight, it's like, hell no, it's like this. And like within reaching your goal, you might lose a family member. You might freaking, I don't know, right? Like just all the things that can happen in life. So it's impossible for it to be like that A to B. I'm saying like it's A to C to D to E to F.
That's true.
If you stick it out long enough and you pay attention as you go along, you'll probably end up getting to that B point. It might take a year. It might take 20 years. It might not ever happen. But if you've got like the vision, you're just trying to get there. But it's not just like a straight path. And that's what I mean by black and white. It's like your day-to-day is in the black and white. So a lot of the ways that I would say that I feel like you look at things are kind of that black and white, where, like I said, I live in the gray space. And so I'm like, well, yes, my wife has told me this and has recommended this, but there's like 10 things I got to think about to get to that, where you're just taking generally like, I wouldn't say just the one jump, but essentially the one jump. You're like, this happens, this is the outcome. And it's like, and to me, it's like, this happens, here's 10 possibilities, and does it still make that same outcome? Sometimes yes, and sometimes no.
It's actually hilarious that you said that because I feel like that's the way I plan my days, and it never goes like that.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, our daughter has a doctor's appointment, and then I need to be at our son's track and field day. And if anything gets mixed up in between those 2 points, it pisses me off.
Yeah, see?
So it's like, oh, our daughter needed to go pee, but we weren't somewhere where she had bathroom accessibility.
Yeah.
And no. You hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, and for me, it's like, oh well, here we are. Here's what life threw, and it doesn't mean it's not annoying or it doesn't like.
That made me seem so bad. Hey.
No.
Just being like, our daughter needed to go to the bathroom.
I just mean like it's a good example of A to B. I'm just saying, like for me, it's like, oh well, like I guess I'm not doing that today.
And so you're better at dealing with that sort of thing than I am, because I just get right mad.
Yeah. That, like I say, that's honestly the difference. Where I'm just trying to navigate like 10 million other possibilities to see if it potentially even has the same outcome. And my brain doesn't stop.
No, it doesn't. And that's also another.
Like it doesn't stop doing that same process for almost every single thing. So that's why I say it's just different. But that's also the focus and unfocus, where you can be like really task focused and be like bang, bang, bang. I can also be task focused, but it might take me longer to finish that same task. A lot longer.
Well, and that's actually something else that really annoys me about you in the office space.
Yeah.
Is that
it annoys you? Is challenging about me?
It annoys me. It challenges me with you because it makes me feel like you don't care. Is that if I ask for help with something that I need help with, like let's be open. One of your clients hasn't paid their bill. By me asking you for help, that's like, hey, can you reach out to your client, please, and help me try and collect from them? And you kind of blow it off because I do know that your head is in 15,000 different spaces. That annoys me.
That's fair. In that sense, I have a little bit of that specific instance, I have a different outlook. I don't think a salesperson or someone that's an account manager should ever collect money.
And I'm not opposed to that, but
just because even though
I feel like you guys,
even though it's right, even though you shouldn't ever have to have that conversation per se, it's just the minute that I always say, like, the account manager and the salesperson, their job in my mind is to be like the positive deliverer, right? Check out the reports, look what we're accomplishing, we're giving ideas, whatever it is. The minute you become the collector, even though it isn't a negative, it can become abrasive. And the minute that you cross the threshold into being the abrasive, I feel like you create a bit of a wedge in terms of like that positive outlook. And again, that's not a cop out. It's not to say like that customers should feel that it's okay not to, to pay their bills on time or whatever that is. But to me, that's the reality of the situation. It's like my job is to stay super focused on creativity, giving them new ideas and finding ways to like enhance their business. And there's got to be somebody else that's working with them to be like, hey, TikTok, like.
When I don't disagree with you at all, but it's definitely a challenge.
Oh yeah,
especially for me, because I don't get emails returned, I don't get phone calls returned.
And I can see why that's annoying.
At what point is it like? At what point should I be asking you guys to step in or not to step in?
Yeah, I mean, like
because
I say,
it's multiple clients. It's not just one.
Oh yeah, I don't. It's the nature of our industry, right? And I don't know why it makes it different in our industry than it does in a lot. Obviously we sit here and say like, hey, like when you go to McDonald's, you pay for the burger before you pull up to the next window, then you get the burger. I would say that there's definitely agencies that work like that, and they're also, because of the way that because they work like that, they may not have an opportunity to work with certain businesses because those businesses have their own processes and procedures that they don't align with, so that client will never work with them. I mean, I've definitely talked to other people in the same field that are like, hey, like this is how we work and you got to pay up front, and that company will say, okay, no thanks, like I need to do a PO. I need to send that PO to our accounting department, and you're not getting paid for 90 days or sometimes longer. So if you're not in the position to be able to absorb that, then you're not going to get the chance to work with those companies, period. That said, there's definitely other companies that don't have those same big systems that are just more challenging to work with because they are solopreneurs or whatever, and they don't, they don't run their books and their invoicing and their payments efficiently. And that's why no matter what episode I've ever done with Encourage, I always say, like, the number one thing you should do is hire a bookkeeper, whether that's externally or in-house. But that's exactly why I have such a value on what you do. It's like, I don't need to think about those things. I need you to tell me what's going good and what's going bad. And then I can move on and press the gas pedal to do other things, knowing that my finances are being handled and that I'm getting the right information. I don't think a lot of people put when they're running their business on those numbers and having access to the information the way that we put emphasis on having access to that information. But I guess that's maybe part of entrepreneurship, is people don't know what they don't know. You have to remember, a lot of people start a business because they're good at something. They're a good construction worker, they're a good mechanic, they're whatever industry you pick. But it doesn't mean they're a good accountant.
No.
But
when you start a business, it doesn't come with a manual.
No.
A lot of these people are learning as they go.
Yeah.
And so that's just one step that they have to take to learn what that business needs.
Yes.
But I think a lot of people in our area especially don't understand what it's like to run a small business and what that looks like when you as a small business rely on those payments from clients and not having the cash flow
I think,
maintain those clients that don't pay for 90 days, 120 days.
I think there's a different way to look at it too. And again, it's not an excuse to them. Like, Greg, my business partner and stuff too, like, it's like, pay your bills. You pay your bills, you pay them on time, and that way, no matter...
When you start a business, it doesn't...
If you ever have a bump in the road, people are always going to be super open and respectful because they know you're the kind of people that take care of their finances. But another way to look at it, just even from your perspective, is, like you just said, they don't know what they don't know.
But this is where my black and white comes in. It's like, you pay your bill.
And so what I'm saying is they also might be in the same position where they're waiting to get paid from their customers so that they can put food on their table. And now you become, third, fourth, fifth in line because they got to make sure that their, equipment loan has been paid because they don't want to default on that. And, that they've tried their best to put some food on the table or pay their employees similarly. And so, like, not you, but like, you as a service provider, you might be, like I say, fifth, sixth, seventh in line. Meanwhile, you're still trying to do the exact same thing they're still trying to do, which is like, hey, like, that bill is the difference between me buying my groceries or me paying XYJ bill. You're holding me up from doing the things I need to do. And so, it would be nice if it was more streamlined and black and white, where it's like, here's the invoice, like, pay it. But it's not. I would say it's not so much that small business owners don't understand, so much as they're probably just going through the same things, and they're just prioritizing. I think where it becomes problematic is, again, where people don't make the right decisions. Like, business people don't make, especially small business owners, they don't make the right decisions to make sure that they're as financially positive as they should be, so that they can absorb those things. Like, similarly, like in marketing, obviously we do have businesses that reach out that are on their last legs and they're hoping that marketing is going to save their business. And sometimes that's true and sometimes it's not. But the point is like, they're one bad month away from not being able to pay those bills. And if they're in those situations, how are you going to get water out of a rock? Like, you're not. So I think it's more or less like just having the right processes and procedures in place, which aren't always perfect, but having as much of that in place so that we can mitigate having the least amount of people that do put us into that financial situation. And I think that works for any small business. It's like you're going to deal with certain clients at some point in your business career that are going to have different pay timetables. Mm-hmm. So your job is to figure out like how can you mitigate that as best as you can so that you have the cash flow to be able to maintain that, be able to maintain that kind of a customer. Mm-hmm. We have some great companies that we work with that pay like that, right? Mm-hmm. You don't get your first check until 90 days, but they'll never miss a payment.
No.
But it takes 90 days before you get that first payment. Not everyone can handle that. But at the same time, it's like, okay, well, we've implemented like having credit cards on file so that we can make sure that as many customers as possible we have on that credit card system so that when we can do the automatic billing and we know right away whether there's potentially an issue or something happening. Mm-hmm. And it allows us to stay as cash flow positive as we can to mitigate the client that takes the 90 days to pay. Because you're not going to avoid that on every single situation. At least I don't think so. Maybe I'm wrong, but I just don't think so. I feel like every industry at some point has someone that is taking longer to pay than you'd like them to. Mm-hmm.
Well, see, and that's what I'd like to know is like, is there other small businesses that happens to them too?
Oh, totally.
I feel like when I talk to people, they always try and give you the, like, what word am I looking for?
The positive?
Yeah. Yeah. When you talk to a couple who's married and they're actually not in a good place and they just like play it off. That's what I feel like people just,
because
like, how are you? Good, great. Like,
because people are afraid to be raw. They're afraid to be vulnerable and open and honest.
And that's fair, but
no, it's not
we're all
really
humans.
To me. It's not to me. I mean, to me, it's like the more raw and open and honest you are, like the more relatable you are, because people can. It's like being a shark with blood in the water. Like people can, the shark can smell the blood in the water. Like you're not fooling anyone.
No, but that's what right? I'm trying. That's what I'm trying to say too.
But people have a bit
raw,
of a guard. Oh,
because everybody's human.
Oh, totally.
Don't be fake. Don't tell me what I want to hear.
Yeah.
Like I actually want to know how you're doing. I generally want to know how your business is doing.
Yeah.
I don't want the bullshit.
I'm the same way. I just be as honest as you can and give me good feedback too when I come to you with a question and say like, hey, I need your help with this. Like I'm not looking for a pat on the back. It's like, I think you're being dumb and here's why. And it's like, oh, I didn't think about it like that. Okay, that's good. I still may forge ahead.
Yeah.
But at least I got some valuable feedback. I just think it's just people are afraid to be vulnerable. They just are, both in relationships and in business. They're just afraid to be vulnerable, let their guard down, and say this is what's going on in my life. And again, also not everyone has to know your. I don't want to say dirty laundry. I just think that's a relatable term, but it's like you don't need to air your dirty laundry to everyone either, right? Like. Some things are meant to be personal. Just like in business, like if 30 customers don't need to know that one customer is giving us a bad, not a bad time, but like, let's just say financially, it's like that one company is financially holding you back from, doing good things.
Yeah, but that's not to say that you need to name drop. It's just simply that you need to be like, hey, I'm struggling in X, Y, and Z.
No, I get that, but it's there's rawness and then there's the energy that breeds negativity. And if you're constantly talking about the things that are maybe upsetting you or that are bothersome or whatever, then every time that you have a conversation with someone, it's like, oh, here comes the person that always just is telling me how bad things are and how they feel about this, instead of like, yo, let's go. Like, sports is a perfect example of that. It's like, a hockey player, a basketball player, a soccer player, whatever, like they're going to go through a slump. If you have a coach that's just like reinforcing that all the time, it's just going to get worse. But if you have a coach that's like, hey, pull up your socks, get in the game, brush it off, this drought will end, and push through it, right? And they provide that positivity, then you come out of it and bang, you're back to scoring goals or whatever position you play, but you're back to scoring goals. But if you're just surrounded by the negativity side, you're not going to score any goals, and heck, you might even quit the game altogether, and heck, you're just going to go down the rabbit hole. So, speaking of being holy fuck. Speaking of being busy, you also did, well, I shouldn't say you, but yes, you also decided to start another business outside of the business that we also just participated in. So that's kind of exciting and challenging, and I think important to share with people. It's like, we have a business, you wanted to take on a different style of business. I think albeit similar, but just different. We have kids, we have a business to worry about. We have pets and employees.
Why not
and
start
you're like,
another
hey,
business?
let's start something else. And so I think it's pretty cool to share with people like what it is that you started, and yeah, just what you've figured of starting it, and yeah, maybe share a little bit about what that is. And yeah, so why don't we start with what is it? What's it called and what is it?
So essentially, it's been 2 years in the making. We ran into a lot of hurdles along the way, but it is a 1960s Cree vintage traveling trailer photo booth.
Okay, and what does that mean?
So essentially, it's a camper trailer on wheels.
Yeah.
That has a photo booth inside of it. So
cool.
We're hoping to promote like events, weddings, corporate events, sports, like a golf tournament would be great. Those kind of events.
Nice.
Yeah.
So 2 years in the making, you can explain that maybe.
Where do I start? So 2 years ago, we purchased a completely different trailer.
Yeah.
With a goal of renovating it, which went sideways as there was a lot of water damage. So we ended up taking it right down to the frame.
The metal frame,
which was not a great idea. But we learned that we probably shouldn't have done that in
retrospect.
Yes, in retrospect, we shouldn't have done that. However, it is what it is. That trailer sat on our driveway for 2 years, and then we had goals to rebuild it. However, that goal cost was not financially... We weren't financially okay with that. So as luck would have it, we ended up finding this trailer located just outside of Calgary that was perfect.
Yeah.
And we went and picked it up in January and have rebuilt it since January. Yeah. And she's ready to roll.
Yeah.
She's got all the props, all the camera equipment, the printer's working.
Yeah, but speak to that. I mean, that you had your first event. How fun was that?
The first event was super fun. We did it at Cherry Ice for their summer soiree. Yeah. And then our second event was at the Coast Hotel for the Lethbridge Humane Society. Yeah. And they were both super, super fun. It was nice to get to meet people. Yeah. I was super disappointed that the printer wasn't working. Well, for the first one, it actually wasn't in yet. It hadn't arrived, hadn't shipped. And then the second one, it wasn't working. So I was super disappointed because I am a person who loves memories. I love printed memories. I love photographs. I love being able to put them up in my house. However, my wonderful husband helped me get the printer up and running. So now you get a cute little 2x6 photo strip with whatever event it is to take home and hang on your fridge.
See, and that's why I say this. I think this is a great experience for both of us. One, it's just a different business with a lot of people involved.
What do you mean a lot of people? It's just you and me.
Events.
It's
hundreds of people.
Yeah.
We don't deal with that in marketing. You're dealing with, yes, you're dealing with hundreds and thousands of digital people, but not like foot traffic style people. And so anything and everything can happen, from things getting broken to things getting touched to things getting moved to things getting stolen
to tech not working.
Yeah, and so you're not in a fixed location where everything can just be set up and it's always perfect and that's the way it is. It's like one event to the next can change the whole dynamic of what you're.
And now I have anxiety.
Yeah, see, but that's what I'm trying to say is like.
Don't say things like that.
What I like is that even though things haven't been perfect, like you stepped up and you took it kind of with a grain of salt, grain of sand, whatever the saying is, and you made of it with what you had at the moment. With like your first event, not even having the camera equipment there, but you still took pictures with your phone and printed it on like a little cute
mini printer,
like mini Polaroid, and like you found ways to overcome. And that's what I'm trying to share with people. It's like, to me, I wouldn't have shown up to the event.
Well, see, and that's just it. You can't not show up. If you committed, you have to be there.
But that's what I'm saying is like, even though I'm okay with like the missteps in sales, when it comes to the presentation of a product or when someone's bought something, if you will, like it has to be on point. And so this has been a really cool learning experience to watch you go through that and overcome it, but also for me to be like, holy cow, like good on her, because I would have been like, I'm not showing up, like we're not ready. I would have already been like spending days like figuring out and testing and printing and inviting friends over to my house and having them just walk through it and like all of the testing so that I could show up to an event appearing
but
to
you
be
know
perfect.
And I'm the same way. I would have done that too, but as you know, the equipment didn't show up on time.
Oh yeah.
So, and I had already committed to these events.
Yep. I just think it's
that the equipment was going to be here.
I just think it's awesome that you stayed true to that and you overcame the obstacles, and people still gave you a lot of like positive feedback where I would have been like, sorry.
Trust me, I was sick to my stomach inside. I was sick. I was ill. But it's the same thing in business. If a client needs something done, you commit to that date. Whether how you get it done doesn't really matter. You just get it done.
Yeah. No, I get it.
Same with the kids.
I get it. I mean, it's, to me, I'm more like that with like a loss of a customer. Like if we lose a customer, it really rattles my brain. Partially because of like my sense of loyalty and wanting to do like a really good job for people. So that's why I say
it's not to say that you're not going to do a good job though.
No, I know, but I'm just saying like
it might not, if you don't have the
like the only time I have that pit that you're describing in your stomach is when a customer says like, I don't want to work with you anymore. To me, I feel like I've let them down. I don't know what I did wrong. What could I have done better? Like I take a lot of weight of that onto my shoulders, where I get.
But even in that case, it's not always negative.
Oh,
Maybe
no.
the reason that they don't want to work with you anymore is because they don't have the funds to continue to work with you, or it doesn't always mean that you've done something wrong.
This just change is necessary. That's why I say there's just no such thing like
it's inevitable.
It's inevitable. Like you're gonna have a customer that loves you for some time, but it's not like it's generally not quite like a marriage, right? Like a marriage's intention is to be a forever thing, and that's where my brain lives. My brain lives in that kind of forever moment where it's like, I want to deliver. And I don't want to be a vendor, I want to be your partner. And to me, a partner means someone that sticks it out through thick and thin. So I'm going to have your company's back if you have my company's back. But I've realized that in that sense, we're actually there for a reason or a season. And, we're either helping a business get to a certain point, at which point now they want to bring on internal staff, or they just want to change to a different direction. Or same thing, a season where it's just like they were just looking to try out a different perspective, and that got fulfilled, and nothing bad happened, but now they're moving on to the next one. Some people don't have that same loyalty and commitment that I tend to make in my own head, which is great for a marriage, because I just have that sense of loyalty, and there's almost nothing that could happen that would put me in a headspace to be apart. But then that carries into business, and then there's that heartbreak for me when I feel like you're being treated like a vendor and not a partner. So that's why I say, going back to your trailer, like feeling that pit in your stomach, like, oh, I hate that. It's a shitty feeling.
I think my pit in my stomach, though, is very different than the one that you feel.
But I'm just saying, I commend that you went to those events, even though it wasn't perfect. That is pretty awesome to see, that you just took it on and you're like,
here we go.
Here we go.
Here we go. Let's do it. Yeah.
What do you mean that pit in your stomach different?
Well, I don't feel heartbreak. Like, I didn't feel heartbreak when I went to those events.
No.
I felt ill, sick to my stomach, because it wasn't the way I was expecting it to feel.
Yeah.
And I was scared I was going to let clients down. Clients?
Yeah,
people? Not clients?
Yeah, clients, people.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same though, really.
But really, nobody was heartbroken over the fact that they weren't getting a photo just because my printer wasn't working.
Yeah, I got it. You got to email it, and it still had a function.
It still had a function. It's just I was disappointed that the printer wasn't functioning.
Yeah.
And I wasn't able to give people a photo of a reminder of the event. Not that they couldn't have printed it off and cut it out themselves.
Maybe for me, the heartbreak comes because of the type of business. Like, I know that a lot of companies will have a negative experience in marketing and advertising. They'll deal with someone that maybe doesn't have a lot of experience in order to save a few bucks. But then sometimes they'll deal with a company that is super reputable, and they'll get sold a product or service that doesn't necessarily align with the specific goals that they had in mind. And so you get the people that's like, well, marketing doesn't work or advertising doesn't work. And so I feel like the difference between the two businesses is your business on the photo booth side is tailored around memories. It's a very positive feeling. Mine is extremely results oriented, where it's like, if you're not delivering a result, like, you're constantly having to prove your worth. And even though you're doing everything you can to do the right thing by people, they're just comparing you to their previous negative experience. And the reason why I feel heartbreak through that is, or maybe that's not the right word, but it's because it's the same thing in relationships. It's like, we all have baggage. We've all had negative experiences. We've all been positive, but we've all had those negative. The way that someone treated you in a previous relationship shouldn't dictate how the opportunities that you give the next person. And again, I'm not trying to say that trauma doesn't exist or that kind of stuff. I'm just saying, to me, that's similar in business. It's like, hey, like, I shouldn't be measured by the last person, because the last person maybe wasn't qualified enough, maybe didn't understand your business enough, or have enough experience in the space to be able to provide the result. Maybe they just didn't explain it properly to you, and what the right, like, metrics and benchmarks were going to be. So even though that's stupid and technical, I just mean like to me it's like a relationship. It's like if I'm being honest and truthful and transparent, and I'm working hard to do right by you and do everything I can to provide a positive outcome. The same in a marriage, right? That positive outcome could be, increasing your finances, having a child, getting a new house, getting a car, or having time to do a hobby, whatever. Yeah, if you're just constantly being pressurely tested, that's basically like I say, the difference. That'd be like me coming home and like every single day, it's like, you could be doing this better. And it's like at some point you're just like,
well, and I think
broke.
Like the fact that I love photographs and just like memories and things like that, I think the positivity side of it and just having friendly people around was a big important part of starting the Instacamper. So yeah, just like interacting with people in a happy atmosphere and meeting new people and having people talk about what's going on in their lives and them being excited and happy about that. I think that was also like a huge benefit to starting Instacamper.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you did. And I mean, granted, I'm sure, I get to be a fun part of it, just like you're a part of this business, but I'm excited to just try it and see your venture unfold and what comes of it, and just your excitement around it. So it'll be fun to watch. I also think it'll be a good reminder of where it all started, because sometimes as you grow your business, too, you not saying you forget where you come from, but sometimes we forget that there was a starting point, and you kind of in your day-to-day, and your numbers might not be relatable to somebody else's.
What do you mean by that?
I always said this is a great example of it. It's, we would talk about somebody just was had a lot of experience in the automotive side, right? So the automotive side, you could be like, oh man, like look at those people, they're doing so great. Life is just so easy for them. And meanwhile, the difference is they have the exact same, employee issues and whatever issues. The difference is your business is doing, whatever number, $10,000, $20,000 a month. Their business might be doing $2+ million a month. The problems don't change. They're actually much bigger. You could fall at a much more enormous fall that could be way more detrimental than that 10,000. But in
retrospect?
Not in retrospect, in the way that you live it, the amounts are similar. Like the way that the way that somebody running a bigger business might look at $1 million or $2 million is the same way that a small business owner is looking at $10,000. It's still the same thing. And so I think that going through Instacamper with you and kind of like birthing it and figuring out like the logistics of it and the problems and all that fun stuff is a reminder, even from like where we have outrageous today, that at one point it was literally bathroom ads on a wall that were started by one guy and sold to another guy and then sold to me, and even then when I bought it, it was like a one-man show. And we're fortunate enough to be able to employ like 10 people.
Well, and that's the goal.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
But sometimes we forget, and it's like, like you're just dealing with the day-to-day issues, and you forget like, wow, like you actually accomplished some shit. This has been pretty crazy cool ride. Like, what are you upset about? You could be back at square one. And remember that feeling, and so that's what I'm excited about. It's like I think that will reinvigorate and just get me to think about what it was like to start on day one.
Well, and it's easy to forget too, like even some of the tribulations that we've gone through, like with finding out repair costs for the trailer or printer and tech issues. And now that like we look back at it, it's funny. It didn't seem like it was that big of a deal, but at the time it felt like the whole world was falling apart.
Yeah.
So
that's what I mean. It's just, it gives you just another perspective. And I like the diversification. And I just think it's like probably at least I think so, it's probably like the best gift we can give to our kids is just showing them not to be afraid and take
perseverance.
No, just to take on the risk. And you know what? Like, I'd rather be on the boat that said, hey, I gave it everything I had and it didn't work out, than be like, I wonder what would have happened if I tried this 10 years ago. It's like, no, just do it. Do it. And what is the worst that can happen? Like, I mean, sure, you can come up with a very negative scenario, but at the end of the day, if you're still breathing at the end of that, you got another shot. You can start again.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm excited to
I'm
say
excited
the least.
for you.
Thanks.
I hope that we were able to maybe shed some light on working together, being married and having a family and running a couple of businesses, and I hope people get to see that it's not just flowers and rainbows, but that it also is pretty amazing. And while maybe we can't relate to everybody, I mean, I think it's been an amazing, especially the last 8 years have been amazing.
It's been an interesting journey for sure.
Right?
It's never dull.
It's had its ups and downs, but at the end of the day, it feels like it was just yesterday to me. So, yeah, it doesn't feel like it's been 8 years.
No, it definitely doesn't.
It feels like it's just been a couple, and then it's like, oh wait, we have kids. But it feels like it's just been a couple. But yeah, I wish you nothing but success in the Instacamper journey as your main new focus, and I appreciate what you do for Outrageous and for the team at Outrageous, and appreciate what you do for our clients. So I love you, and I thank you for that.
Oh, thank you. I love you too. And this is when I give you my resignation from Outrageous.